I decided not to jack this thing up just because it's a lot more moving parts, and I'd rather do as little work as possible to get this done. But this level's pretty good for me. As you can see, it's already draining. So the first thing you want to do, of course, you see where it's draining. You for this truck specifically, it took a 14 millimeter socket, and you go counterclockwise to undo it. And yeah, once you break it open, you just want to use your fingers to take the screw out, and then obviously let it drain. I usually let it drain for like 5 or 10 minutes and just let it sit there. And even after 5 or 10 minutes, if it's still dripping, it's fine. Also, obviously, you don't want to do this on a really hot engine. You want to make sure it cools down at least, I guess I would say half an hour or an hour. I guess the longer the better. But also, when it's warm, when the oil is warm, it's able to trickle out a lot quicker. At least I think so. Alright, so you want to make sure you get the right oil as well. So for this truck, since it has over well over 75,000 miles, I have high mileage synthetic oil, and this one takes 5W30, and as you can see, it says Dexos approved. In the manual it says that I'm supposed to be using any motor oil that has this Dexos logo on it, so that's why I always try to look out for. And make sure you always look at your manual, because that's going to tell you all the details on your fluids and what you're supposed to be looking out for. I don't really care about the brand. I used to do just strictly Valvoline, and then I switched to Mobil 1, and then I realized at one point that it doesn't really matter. As long as you get the right type, which is this right here, and whatever logo it needs to have. Mine needs to have the Dexos logo, and of course high mileage. If it's a newer vehicle, then you can just get regular engine oil, and obviously it's full synthetic. And I actually have another smaller one right here. This is a quart, because I think usually a full one of these doesn't do it for me. I think I need to do a little bit of this, and then it'll do it. If you're gonna do an oil change, you might as well change the oil filter as well, or at least that's what you're supposed to do. I have a Mobil 1 oil filter here, and make sure that if you're using synthetic oil, like it says right here, that the filter is also made for synthetic oil. So, all right, and I found it back here. It says synthetic blend media keeps oil cleaner and holds more dirt. And yeah, it shows right there. And I actually scanned it in store because I wasn't 100% sure that it was synthetic, but this was at Walmart, so I ended up just scanning the product, and it said yada yada synthetic oils or whatnot. So that's how you do that. And make sure you have your shop towels or just whatever towels, and obviously you got your gloves to get this job done. And right now I'm wearing a watch, but because I'm listening to music right now. But preferably when you're doing stuff like this, you don't want to be wearing any jewelry or any wrist wear or nothing like that, just so you can move a lot freely with your arms and all that, and so nothing gets in the way. And I wear glasses. I actually took my glasses off because it's really annoying going under the truck and smacking your glasses on a piece of metal, which is really annoying. So the less accessories on your body, the better. One thing I forgot to mention is you want to have a container or some kind of dish down here, because you don't want that stuff getting on your driveway or contaminating the ground surface. And yeah, we're pretty much at the end here. Once it starts dripping like it is right now, just to really slow droplets, you can pretty much just move on from there. You just want to wipe it and put the screw back, hand tighten the screw in, and once you hand tighten it as much as you can, that's where the ratchet comes in. Another important thing here is you want to grab your bolt and just throw it on a towel and just start cleaning it, and make sure also that the gasket is still good down here. And I was actually going to buy another screw, but I didn't do that. But it looks like it's in pretty good condition. The gasket looks pretty good, and mine has a magnet on the end. Yours might not have a magnet, but that does not matter. As long as no oil comes out, that's all that matters. All right, so we got the screw in there, and you don't want to be too harsh on that screw in terms of torque. You just want to tighten it until it feels real tight, and don't go too crazy. Also, especially if you're using a bigger ratchet like this one. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is get to the oil filter, which is right here on my truck. And there used to be a plastic dish right here for whenever you unscrew this, the oil that comes out falls on the little plastic dish here, and it trickles down on the other side. But I don't know what happened to it. It's just gone. If this thing is not super tight, you can actually just do it with your hands. And if chances are, if a mechanic used like a tool or something to tighten it really hard, you might not be able to get it off with your hand. And every time you put on one of these oil filters, you want to make sure you always hand tighten it. You don't want to use any tools. And make sure you have your dish ready, like right under the oil filter. So let's do that right now. It'd probably be like right there. Yeah, make sure you have that ready beforehand. And then, all right, and from this point, when you take it out, you actually want to put it upside down onto the drain right here. And I think there's actually a specific spot on the drain where you can put it, but I usually just put it anywhere. All right, so that thing is out of there, and this is what I was talking about. Once you take it out, you just flip it upside down and you put it on that drain and let it drain out. I think you want to actually tilt it, or I mean, yeah, you want to tilt that thing like that, one of these tabs, so that it comes out properly. I don't know if you see what I'm talking about. It's just for security, so it drains. All right, the next thing you want to do is you want to clean out that area right there with a shop towel, where the new oil filter is going to go. And yeah, you're pretty much here at the finish line. Also, let me say that when you put on this new oil filter, you want to just hand tighten it, and you want to do that as hard as you can. You don't want to use any tools at this point. You might have needed to use a tool to take it out, but once you put it back in, you just want to hand tighten it. I actually struggled taking it out because probably of all the heat and compression or whatever factors, and because I remember last time I did hand tighten it, but it was a real pain to take it out. All right, so what we're gonna do here is we're actually gonna take some new or old oil and put it around this gasket with your finger. And then you're gonna wanna, well, this is personal preference. After that, you're gonna want to drop some oil in here just to kind of get it started so it can be wet. I'm still not sure what the reason for this is, but I'm thinking that this might actually hydrate the gasket so that it's not bone dry whenever you start doing your drive cycles and all that. That's what I think. And as you can tell, I also dropped some oil down there. But now that after that's done, now we can start screwing this thing in. All right, and there is the new oil filter on there. What I did to get some better grip is I put a glove on, and then I tightened it just so it is as tight as it can be, hand tight, of course. And finally, you want to make sure that screw's tight, and you want to make sure that oil filter's tight, because we're pretty much down here, and all that's left is to just add the new oil. And before you take this thing to AutoZone to recycle it, or a local place to recycle this oil, you want to make sure you clean the walls and stuff like that, and the bottom as well. Make sure there's no oil so that when you're taking it over there, you don't get your hands dirty. All right, at this point, I just cleaned my dipstick, and I cleaned the bottom of the cap where the engine oil is going to go. And also, you want to check the oil capacity for your vehicle. I actually couldn't really find the oil capacity. Well, actually, I didn't really try to look in the manual. I just looked it up online, and apparently this one takes 6 quarts. And it sounds about right, because usually when I use the really big one of 5 quarts, it's never enough. All right, I usually keep this cone around hidden in there. and you want to make sure you clean it inside so there's not a lot of debris. There's actually kind of a little bit of a debris there in the skinny area, so I might have to clean that out again. All right, so I had to take a look at the manual because this part always stresses me out. So this does take 6 quarts in terms of capacity for the engine, and I have just put in 5 quarts. But the thing is, each time I take out the dipstick, it reads as if it's like on the max line. So let me show. So I feel like it's always reading up here. I don't know if it's an illusion or if that's what it's actually reading. I've already cleaned it like various times and put it in and taken it out, and it keeps bugging me. This is always the most stressful part for me. And I think actually what happens is you need to let the oil settle in. I guess drain down a little. Maybe that's the issue. I'm not really sure. But what you can also do at this point, if you're not really sure and you're well below the capacity that's in the manual, you can actually just keep that extra quart with you in the truck or in your car or in your van or whatever, and for the next few days, and just keep checking the oil level and see where it's at those first few days, or maybe even a week. All right, so I want to show you guys what it's reading. To me, it looks like, I don't know, it looks like it kind of just filled up all the way on its own, but I'm not really sure what to say at this point. This part always stresses me out. But I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna leave it alone, and in the next few days, just keep checking the level. All right, well, to finish up, I like to grab my cone, and well, I usually clean the inside, but I kind of don't care at this point. I usually grab a towel like this and kind of just stick it in here and kind of just tuck it away, and you can see it's on top of the towel, so all that oil that's on the walls is going to drip down to the towel, and you can just close the hood and be good with it. And yeah, that is pretty much the video, guys. Thank you for watching. So in my case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drive around for like the next day or two, and I'm going to see if this level drops, because it's really annoying how it calls for 6 quarts for the capacity, but it already seems full with 5 quarts. And it might be that maybe there was still some oil in there. Not really sure, but yeah, that's how you do an oil change. Let me put this dipstick in there. I appreciate you guys. And yeah, you want to obviously test drive this, make sure there's no leaks under, and no leaks around the oil filter, no leaks around where the screw was put in. And if there's no leaks, then you're pretty much good to go. You can go ahead and test drive it, and yeah, that's it. All right, I decided that I'm gonna take you guys with me on this test drive. This is a little bonus at the end of the video. And I just realized that this part right here says drain filter here, so for future reference, whenever you take out that old oil filter, you can go ahead and just place it there. And probably what those bumps are for, never really figured that out. But right now I'm just cleaning this, getting it ready to might as well just take it to AutoZone if I'm gonna go and test drive. And it's like 5 or 6 minutes away from here, not that far at all. And yep, killed 2 birds with 1 stone. All right, so I checked for leaks underneath and everything is good, but you always want to double check, triple check, quadruple check, however many times you have to check that the cap is tight here, and then the dipstick is pressed all the way in like so, and now we can just close the hood. All right, we got this thing in the back and we're ready to go. I actually need to check out if AutoZone is even open right now, since it's late. I think it's 9 o'clock that they close. All right, so I just checked. This particular location closes at 10 o'clock, which is nice. It's 8 o'clock right now. So let's go ahead and do this. All right, so we're here at AutoZone. Let's get this done. All right, so that is mission accomplished. Got that emptied out. should always recycle your oil once you do an oil change, or at least that's what I like to do, just so it doesn't keep piling up in storage.